the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Baltimore Ravens 24-19. I mean, I caught like a lot of the end of this game. And really, I mean, the Eagles were, what was it at halftime? It was 12-14, no points scored in the third. And then Philadelphia just really pulled away in the second. I mean, a lot of people now are saying, Philadelphia, really, they're on this sort of Super Bowl roll. But, box score-wise, Baltimore, played a good game. It was just about converting points and closing it out. And the Eagles are getting in a good habit of doing that, aren't they, of closing out games?
Yeah, I from watching the game, they didn't close out this game. They dominated the Ravens, and they obviously scored quite late. But I think the scoreline being within 5 points is probably a little bit unreflective of the way the Eagles were able to just suffocate the Ravens defensively. I mean, we'll talk about Justin Tucker in a second and his missed kicks, but the Eagles were just able to take their chances when they came. Saquon, yet another insanely good game. Jalen Hurts again, being able to find all the receivers, particularly such a, I'd say quite a playoff atmosphere in Baltimore. Everyone knew what was on the line in this, and yeah, I mean the Eagles defense, I think, is the main thing I took away from this game. Watched the Eagles, I think, in the last few weeks, not a bit sporadically, I suppose, in sprinkles or just watching the highlights. But man, they've got some great players. Nolan Smith. I mean, Zach Bourne he should be a defensive player of the year candidate. He's absolutely everywhere and has been in every game I've seen of the Eagles this year. Jalen Carter, Davis in the middle. These young guys who are really starting to contribute. And they had the injury to Brandon Graham a couple of weeks ago, but this team is just so deep on both sides of the ball as well. The offensive line, they could literally put out two offensive lines and have a really good team. So in this game, I think the Baltimore offense, I think they left themselves with too much to do in terms of the first two downs. They weren't able to produce much yardage, which left with a lot of third downs where Lamar was having to take a deep shot, which proved unsuccessful, or just literally lay it down to one of his running backs. And as we know what the Eagles can do in midfield, we're able to just swarm over them. There was no space for Lamar to work with. And it's a testament to how good the Eagles are. Their secondary, their young secondary are, Cooper Eugene and Quinion Mitchell, two absolute stud cornerbacks. Yeah, the Eagles are so deep and so, they're so improving as well. We know this.
Yeah, you think about week 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Like people were sort of going, the Eagles might not even make the playoffs here.
We were properly dismissing them, weren't we? We were saying Nick Sirianni's got days. Rather than weeks to survive after the 2 or 3 weeks, and so were Philadelphia fans as well. Obviously, you remember the fans getting into altercations with him, but he's starting to, people are really starting to appreciate his coaching now with this team. Seeing how much they have improved.
I still don't think it's necessarily his coaching that people are attaining this to. I think it's more of a, we've just got some really great players. I think weirdly he's like every coach in the league with a team that is playing really well. I think most people believe that he has like nothing to do with this in a weird way, which is obviously not true. Clearly not true, because he has certainly got something to do with this, but that's not the belief around the league. A lot of people, I feel like everyone just thinks, well, Saquon Barkley's playing at an MVP level. And that's,
of course,
you know what I mean? Course. And like, it's just like, that's which is mad, isn't it? It's mad to think that it seems to be that he's getting sort of no props.
No, of course. I still think that, the jury was definitely so out on Sirianni, I think, at the start of the year, and I agree with you. Probably a lot of people don't want to give him, the benefit of the doubt for this reverse and turnaround. But, fundamentally, I think it is probably all about environment, and the Eagles have so much positivity around the place. And I think that's, that comes from your leader, your head coach, or, however, in what way Sirianni will have played his part in this. But Saquon is unbelievable. Obviously, Jalen Hurts has stepped up and again should be a real MVP candidate because he's able to put the team on his back. So it's a really strange one because I don't know if say the Eagles, I don't know, lose in the first round of the playoffs, the pressure will be all the way back on Nick Sirianni, which that's sport at the end of the day. It comes in peaks and troughs, but the Eagles just look a proper football team at the moment. A lot better than they did at the end of last year, and a lot better than they did at the start of this year. So props to them, props to the coaching staff. I think having someone like Vic Fangio and someone as statistically, analytically obsessed as Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinators. I think they've got a great coaching personnel around Sirianni, which has obviously probably helped a lot in terms of getting the best out of the players tactically. So I don't know. I'm talking myself in or out of being on the Nick Sirianni love train. I'm not sure, but yeah. Well, I mean, he certainly deserved credit for the way his team has resurrected. I think in the last couple of weeks.
But it's definitely been peaks and troughs. I mean, I said Eagles started beating the Ravens in the first game of the year on that Friday oh no, I'm getting completely confused. That was the Packers game. That was the Packers game that they had in Brazil. I'm being stupid here. But the Eagles sort of started not great, but were winning games, but were sort of this low point, and now rose. Baltimore started off again not incredible. They lost to the Chiefs, didn't they, on the opening game of the season? And everyone said, well, no, this team is good. It's the Chiefs, and they've sort of dipped in a way. Even though they've been playing fantastic football, it seems to be that they're not quite as this dominating force as maybe things led to believe. And one of the elements has been obviously their special teams, like Justin Tucker's having a poor year by his standards. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer kicker. He's 19 for 27 this year with field goals. I mean, he's not averaging great amount of yardage with them. It's been a pretty. I mean, he's had some pretty bad games, hasn't he, in the last this year? And I think any team that is going to go all the way and is in an incredible team is great on every level. And special teams. We see it in San Francisco where Shanahan isn't that bothered about it, and it's decided games for them a lot of the time. And then you look at teams like the Chiefs where they overanalyze it and it does matter to them, and they are one of the elite teams. I think you have to be good on every single platform there. And I know we've been critical about the Ravens secondary the whole season, but now I think it's got to the point where people are going, well, this isn't a Super Bowl team anymore. Yes, they'll be a playoff team because they are just that talented, but there is a lot of elements. It's almost like the cracks in the elements that they've not got right are really starting to show.
100%. Yeah, the big talking point from this game is what does John Harbaugh do about Justin Tucker, because it's starting now to look more than just a blip. This is someone who's not just had one bad game; he's having a really bad patch. And if it was any other kicker in the NFL, I think he would have been cut by now. I mean, if you look at the actual kicks themselves, he missed. I think it was about a 47-yarder. 50-yarder, and obviously the extra point. Taking the extra point away, obviously they're relatively long kicks, but these are bread and butter kicks for someone like Justin Tucker. And it's a huge concern because like you say, this guy is a legend, future Hall of Famer, but if he's costing you games, then you have to do something about it. So for me, I think they don't I don't think they'll cut Justin Tucker, but certainly they should be looking at signing another kicker to compete with Tucker, and that might, help him get better in practice, or challenge. Maybe there is something wrong in his mind. I don't know, but if he had made all those kicks, the Ravens, if we were adding on 7 points, they would have won this game. So if you look at it that way, Justin Tucker is really damaging the Ravens' ability to win games. So something has to change. But generally about the Ravens, I think the last couple of weeks, I think this game probably, certainly in my eyes, probably rules Lamar out of going back to back for MVP. I think that's probably turning up towards a player who I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit as well. But he wasn't able to really properly contribute. He obviously did well with his legs at times, but it was those third down plays which was a huge takeaway for me. They just couldn't get anyone open, and Lamar wasn't able to do his magic. Concerning times, I think, for the Ravens, because, like we said, it's going to be a struggle now for them to win the North. And if the playoffs ended today, they'd have to play against, I think, the Steelers. That's. Would you want to go to Pittsburgh? I think as the Ravens, on the road, first game of the playoffs, it's going to be tough. That's going to be a hugely tough game, and then to go on a run towards the Super Bowl. It's. Well, I don't want to say the wheels are coming off, because they are a fantastic football team, and I'm sure they'll get back right. But it's they've obviously won games before this game, but not convincingly. I think is the point we're trying to make. So let's see what they can do.
Let's continue.